Aloha, folks, and welcome back to Degree Free, where we teach you how to get the work that you want without a college degree. Now, before we get into today's guest, if you guys did want to stay up to date with everything Degree Free, the best thing that you could do is go to degreefree.co/newsletter. Every week, we send out a newsletter with Degree Free news, tips and tricks to get you hired, and ways to learn new skills and get the work that you want. Today on the podcast, our guest is Robyn Altucher. I am super excited for this episode, and I think that you guys are going to get a lot of value out of this. Robyn is an entrepreneur, investor, mother, and I think what you guys will see in this episode is that she is an expert on everything soft skills, from body language to convincing people to getting people to like you. It's instantaneous, and you can see it right at the beginning of the show. Definitely give this episode a listen and hear how Robyn Altucher went from an employee, going from cosmetology school, all the way to operating as an entrepreneur that has 70 plus employees under her. This show is packed with actionable advice, and we actually go into an area that we don't go too much into normally, which is parenting and how to teach kids to be degree free and to be free thinkers and to nurture them. Anyway, without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation that I had with Robyn Altucher. So today I have Robyn Altucher here with us, and I am very excited. Thank you so much for making the time, Robyn.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
One of the great things about having you here is, we were kind of talking about this before we started recording the podcast, is with Degree Free, we try to help people realize their dreams and actualize what they want to do without a degree. And it's great to have people on that have done it before. And
Right.
So I guess quickly, if you wouldn't mind kind of talking about your background. I know that in your 20s, you had a business. I think you were in the hair salon business.
Yes. Yes, I was.
If you wouldn't mind kind of just talking about what you did for your business.
Sure. Well, I've always loved doing hair. And when I was in high school, I just knew I didn't want to go on to college. And I wanted to just do my own thing, So I did. And I went off to cosmetology school. And I just started working. But I enjoyed it. It's something I really loved doing. And from there, I worked for people. I trained with special people that's super important to apprentice or do something. If you want to go to the top or you want to be the best at something, you want to, you go to school and then you apprentice for a while with somebody. And that's what I did. So I worked with Tony and Guy when they first moved to the States. They're from England. And they opened up their first salon in Dallas. And it was a very small boutique salon and very expensive. I mean, back in the 80s, late 80s, they were charging $100 for a haircut. And but I remember sitting there in the meetings, them telling me that they're going to just, set the U.S. on fire with all their products. So now their products are TG. Those are their products, and now they're all over. Tony and Guy. So, but they were the very best of the best, and I worked there for a little over a year, and it was hard. I'd cry a lot because it was just hard work. And but from there, I met other people in the industry. And so I always had these people that believed in me and helped me. And it was really important to have that support. And from there, I started working for myself within a salon, building up my own clientele and renting a chair. And then from that, I eventually opened up my own salon, and we had 70 employees and 4,000 square foot place, and it was one of the first of its kind in Austin, back in the late 90s. And I had partners, of course. So that's how it started. I mean, it was a very organic way of doing it, but I did actually reach out to my, the people that I respected and helped me through the years to help me with, having my own brand, having my own shampoo and my own products. So Yeah, it was an organic thing. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to have the biggest salon in Austin. That's not how it happened with me. It was a very organic thing, and it just worked because I enjoyed what I was doing.
You said that you, after cosmetology school, you went with Tony and Guy. How did you end up getting that original job?
Okay, so I was in the Hair Olympics. There really is a Hair Olympics, and I competed.
There's a Hair Olympics.
Yeah, and I competed.
What does that look like? What are the events, and how is that judged?
So you are judged. There's competitions within your school. When I was still a student, and from there I won the student competition within our school, and I then did a regional competition in Arizona, and then from there I represented Arizona in the National Olympic competition in Washington, D.C. And so that's called the Hair Olympics. And so you have all the best of the students competing for certain things. And they time you, they look at, the quality and the time of doing a certain style. Everyone has to do the same thing. So I was really, I don't know how I got into that, but they just saw that I had some talent, my teachers, and so then they wanted to do that. And I was like, okay, that's great. Well, then, while I was there in Washington, D.C. at the finals, I was approached by a famous hairstylist named Scott Cole. And Scott Cole used to work for Vidal Sassoon. So he's one of the big, he's sort of a celebrity in the hair business. So he approached me and said, look, would you like to be my assistant? And I said, sure, I would love that. So I worked with him for a while doing stage work. He would do the cutting, and we would be in front of thousands of people. So I would help him and assist him doing the drying and stuff, and humiliate me in front of people if I didn't do things right. It was very abusive, me going through all this, but it was worth it. I learned not to do that again, whatever he told me not to do. But so he was the one, and I'm still friends with Scott, and he has helped me along the way in my journey through this, through the hair business and through life. And he knows everybody because everyone knows him. So anytime Scott Cole calls somebody, it doesn't matter what salon, if it's the very best salon in the world, they're going to know who he is. So he's always been there for me, and he's always done that. So he got me the job at Tony and Guy, and that's how it all started.
That's amazing.
So it's really kind of who you know. I mean, I know it's kind of a cliche, but it kind of does. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of much more talented people out there than I am, but, they didn't know Scott. So I don't know, it's just, I was at the right place at the right time. But you have to be out there, and you have to not fear. Like, a lot of people were telling me, oh, that's crazy. Why are you doing the competition? I'm like, I don't know, because it's fun. I mean, I'm not afraid. I can do this. But there were a lot of people saying, I would never do that. But it gave me the opportunity to be seen and to be approached. And that's how it started.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a lot of important points there. The who you know, you're absolutely right. It is a cliche. I mean, they say build your network. But it's a cliche for a reason, because it works.
Yeah.
I think depending on which surveys you look at, 40 to 80% of the job market is filled informally.
Sure.
And so that's not through a traditional job listing. It's hey, exactly what happened to you.
Right.
I have a rock star here. She's looking for a place to land.
Right.
Here you go.
Yeah.
And then that's how majority of the jobs are filled.
Right. I mean, I didn't realize that, really when I was younger, but man, I know that now. I mean, and I tell that to my kids, it's not just your skill, but you definitely have to have a very high emotional, EQ, or a people person, and they need to like you, because there's a bunch of other people that are going to be just as, skilled as you. So you got to stand out.
What else you said there was that you have to be out there at the same time. So not only do you have to know people, but you also have to be known for something.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just know somebody. you can know Scott Cole, but if you're not doing hair, then why is he going to introduce you to Tony and Guy? You know, if you're not a rock star already, if you're not already in this niche,
That's right.
you're not going to be introduced.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have done it if I was not good. I mean, honestly, you know, I had to have the skill to back up what he was, you know, pitching. So you do have to work hard, and you do have to have that grit to continue on. Like I said, I cried all the time because it was really hard, but I stuck with it, and he knew I would. So, you know, and that's why I've always been able to go back to my, you know, the people that have trained me or the people that I've worked for. I've never burned bridges, like, you know, that's so important. And I always tell that to my kids. You just never know. But there's no reason to burn a bridge because, I mean, life is short, you know, so just be nice about it and be very upfront. And people really appreciate that. So these are sort of the little things that you can do that, you know, that stand out, that may trump some, you know, college degree kid that doesn't have these qualities.
Yeah, definitely. And it could just be this plethora of experience that you have, you know, with life just kind of, you know, kicking you when you're down, like you said, just, I mean, crying.
Right.
And, you know, you have to get back up and do it again.
Sure.
You said something there about never burning bridges. And it's something in my life that I am just learning. In my 20s, I was a very headstrong individual. And so I would, at the end of a usable life, quote unquote, of a relationship, I would say some nasty things, or I would burn bridges because I always like to have the last word. Like, how did you not burn bridges? I mean,
well, okay, so burning bridges is one thing, but okay, so let's just define it. So what I'm talking about is you doing something wrong that, you know, it's your fault, or you created it and you left or whatever. Now, if you say, and you're honest, I want to leave and I do want to open up my own place, and you're very upfront and honest with them, but if they are mean or they say something terrible, I mean, that's not me burning the bridge. That's them doing something that's not nice. And so I was just upfront about it. I would just tell people what I want, and I was afraid because I knew they'd be angry, but I just feel like that's the best way to do it, you know. It was hard.
Yeah.
Because I knew they would yell at me.
Right.
But at the end, they knew that they did something to me. And so eventually they came around and apologized or something, you know, so.
It's always being receptive.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to boil it down, I guess. Like, just always.
Yeah, just being a good person and just, you know, you want to be fair. And so you give people notice, you do the things that you need to do that you think are right. And then if that person doesn't appreciate it, what you've done, or is angry, that's not you're not burning the bridge. They're burning the bridge with you, basically.
Going back to your career, you gave a really nice and neat, succinct, you know, background overview. And you said it was very organic and very natural that you went from, you know, Tony working for Scott Cole and then Tony and Guy and then opening up your own place, and, you know, that progression. But that's not easy. Like, that's like
it took years.
One of the things, yeah. And one of the things is like that one of the biggest pushbacks that we get about when we say you don't have to go to college is that people just assume that we are saying that it's easier to not go to college. And we actually mean it to say the exact opposite. It's actually a lot harder because the path isn't laid out for you.
That's true.
And because you have to forge your own path.
Yep.
And so while what you said was like, that's amazing that you were able to do all of that. But I guess what was going through your mind when you were still just an employee at Tony and Guy's and now you're trying to open up you're trying to get your own book of business. You're trying to go get you're trying to hunt your own clients, and then so now you're going to open up a chair. Like, what's the difference in mindset between an employee and being an entrepreneur?
Well, it's pretty big. I mean, as an employee, you are bound by their laws. You have to work certain hours, and you get a commission. So I couldn't be free, and I've never liked working for people, but I paid my dues, and I did it to build a clientele, because you can't just go somewhere and just all of a sudden have a clientele. I mean, you have to work in a nice place, and then they feed you business, and then you cultivate that, and it takes a while to do that. And back then they didn't have the internet, so I had to do it organically in terms of, people would see my clients' hair and ask where they, it's all word of mouth back then. So it took a little longer. Maybe this day and age it's a little faster, because I don't know. I couldn't imagine doing that now, because I wouldn't know where to even start. But I had the energy. I was young, and I liked that. I liked the business part of it, along with the creative part of it. So it really massaged both of the sides of my brain, But so it took time, and then I inherited someone else's clientele. She was retiring, and that built it up. So eventually I felt like secure enough where I could go and leave and take my clients with me. Now, that lady was not happy with me, but it happens in the business, So, that's expected. I did it as nicely as I could and gave her notice. And so then that's when I went off onto my own and just rented a chair. And my clients came to me, and then that's how it started. So I did that. I mean, it took me about, 10 years of just working for people before I opened up my own business. Now, nowadays, it could be a little faster. I don't know. But, it wasn't like a goal of mine to actually own my own salon. I would always, because I was happy with just working for myself. I didn't have employees to deal with. I was just an independent contractor. I could come and go as I pleased. It was just my chair and my clients. And then the receptionist would answer and book my appointments. So actually, that was a pretty good deal. But I don't know. I just thought I wanted more, because I was successful and I was doing well. And then I thought, well, I'll go to the next level. So I was in my late 30s, late 20s doing that. That was hard. I had to sell, 51%. Well, I sold 49% of the company to raise the money. I kept the 51%. And, it was beautiful. And we were successful right away, because I did hire the best of the best in Austin. So it was really the premier salon, because when you hire the best people, stylists, then their clientele comes with them. And I gave them a really good deal, because I wanted those clients to come in to feed my other services. And so it was just a strategic thing that I did, and it was great.
Yeah, that's...
We were profitable the first year, which is unheard of really in a new business. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Profitable in your first year. And where did you from... That's quite a big leap from like renting your own chair in somebody else's salon and going from the independent contractor, as you said, to now you've raised money,
right.
And now like you have to show them a business plan. I'm guessing you have to tell them, here's my marketing strategy. Here's the market for it. Here's the talent that I'm going to go after. Here's what we're doing.
Right.
Like, how did you learn all of that stuff? I mean, was it just reading books?
Yeah, I mean, I knew about that I needed to do this, right? But I'm a big believer in hiring the best in their field. So I hired the best law firm, the Baker Botts, which is probably an overkill for what I wanted to do, but Baker Botts is one of the top law firms in the country, and I wanted them to set up the company, and they helped me. It cost me a lot of money. I had the best, CPA firm to manage all of that stuff as well. So I had a really good team of people, but like I said, it did cost me a lot of money. But to me, I feel that is money well spent because it protects you, and I trusted them. I didn't just hire some old lawyer that, I don't know, that was less expensive. I just believe in paying for the best. So.
Where did you garner this interest for people to buy this 49% of this business, of this? I'm assuming it was an idea at that point, right? I mean, was it all pre-revenue? Like you didn't even have a brick and mortar location? What did it look like?
No, we didn't. No, it was just all a vision. And I had a couple friends that wanted to invest. I mean, they knew my work. And also, it gave me credit as well, having this big law firm involved, because when people see them, they see, okay, this person is serious. It's not, some, Better Call Saul kind of guy. So that did give me credibility. And maybe that's one reason why I've always believed in that, because, I don't have the college degree. Maybe, they saw my work. They knew I was one of the top stylists in Austin. So that's one thing. But when it comes to business and investing in a business, you really want to have some seasoned people involved. So that's why I did that.
So a little background on me and Hannah, my wife. We ran a business that's similar to a hair salon in Hawaii. And cool. While we never got up to 70 employees, we were okay at it. We saw some success in it. So it's very similar.
Sure.
The booking and the style of business, really. The way that we did it to garner people, we went straight from knowing how to do a service into opening up our own shop. We kind of skipped the intermediary of renting a chair somewhere.
Right.
And the way that we did that quickly was through social media and through showing our results on there. But as you said, back in the day, they didn't really have those things. Right. And so how did you garner word of mouth? Like, or how would you show people that, hey, I'm Robyn and I'm at, X salon, come book appointments with me?
Yeah, like I said, I think it was my work. Most of the people that I had come to me it was from word of mouth. That was my number one. And number two was I did a mailing list where I was able to get people in certain regions in the Austin that because I was pretty expensive. I was very expensive. So I needed a certain type of clientele. So I would market through the mail, those areas. I think people still do that, but they do it maybe electronically or something like that. I still get a lot of stuff in the mail, so I think people still target mail.
Most of my mail is just junk mail.
Yeah. And so the secret about that, though, so here's the thing. I was able to create something that looked very unique, very different. I didn't want to be just a hairstylist. I wanted to be a celebrity hairstylist. I wanted to be the top, okay? That's my goal. I didn't want to just, in TV, they show all these hairstylists that are just uneducated and, whatever. I really pushed away from that, and I tried to work at just the very top places. And so I had a really great resume. And for Austin, back then in the 90s, coming, with a resume with, Scott Cole from Vidal Sassoon, Tony and Guy, all of these top names, I had a great resume. And people were like, wow, I'll go see her. So when they saw that, so it's about making yourself look different, and, I was not the ordinary average person. Plus, I charged a lot of money. And that's another thing. It's a snob appeal. The more you charge, the more people think it's great. But along with that is that you have to perform, and you have to give them, like, they're going to be pickier. So my clients were very particular, but I specialized in color, and I specialized in a natural-looking color, which a lot of people didn't maybe want or whatever. But my clients, you could not tell that it was actually fake color, you know. So I had a little special thing going, and it was, you know, these clients were paying a lot for back in the 90s, $800, $900, but by the time they left, you know. So, and I only worked 3 days a week because that's all I had to do. But I had a lot of assistants, and I booked somebody every 30 minutes. So I was doing pretty well. And then I was able to just do only color if I wanted, or just, you know, color and cutting. I didn't have to do perms, which I hated. So I just specialized.
One of the things that is crazy for us as we experience this very similar thing to what you said is that, you know, when we were first garnering business, we figured the only way that we could, you know, get into the market and get people to come to us was price. Mm-hmm. And so we cut prices, mm-hmm. And we were like, we do better work than our competitors. Hmm. Like, why are we undercutting them? Why don't we just charge more? Mm-hmm. Because we felt exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. We felt like we were differentiated, and I think that's a huge thing of what you hit on, mm-hmm. is differentiation and just being good at what you do. And then along with that comes with what's difficult is communicating that to other people. So not only are you the best, but then communicating that to somebody, and then the ultimate is what you said, is word of mouth, and having them communicate that to somebody else. Right? Like, Robyn, you gotta go see her. She's the best. You know, like, and that's the
Those
holy
are your
grail.
soldiers.
And once you get that right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And like, once you get that going, you know, you're off to the races. Right.
And your client is your first client. Every client is your first client. That's how you have to really look at them. Especially, you know, being in the service business, is that each person, you have to really have a detailed, you know, relationship with them. And you have to perform. You cannot, you know, that's where I learned really how to read body language, because for 25 years, having a person in my chair that's spending, you know, close to $1,000 back in the 90s, that person expected the best. And so I had to read them, because a lot of people would say they wouldn't tell me if they didn't like it, and then they would never come back. And I never wanted that. So I always had to be very aware of how they felt. Even if they didn't tell me, I could tell. Right? Yeah. So I would change it.
Definitely.
And so that's a skill that I learned, body language, which it was great. I'm glad that I did learn that, because I've used that through my whole life.
With using that in your own life, I mean, that seems like that would permeate everywhere. I mean, where else have you used that?
I used it overseas when I lived overseas. When we moved to China, I did not know Mandarin at all. And I figured out that the body language is the same everywhere. It defies culture. It's just a very basic human instinct. And so I was actually able to maneuver through China by reading body language. It was crazy, but it really worked. And I knew when they were not happy. I knew when, you know, I really didn't know the words they were speaking, but I knew maybe sometimes they were not good things they were saying. And then I could tell if they were saying good things. So, yeah. And then I made up my own words in Mandarin, and it worked. So I'm very unconventional. But I got what I wanted. I'd make up words, and they'd laugh, and they'd give me what I wanted. So
that's amazing. So you would just say some sort of Mandarin gibberish to them, along with some sort of body language?
Yeah, well, what I would do, I mean, like, for instance, because it's a lot of that language is very literal, and they put things together, you know. So, for instance, I don't know, like shuijia's water house. I mean, sometimes they use that as a term for a bridge or a dam or something like that. I can't remember. But so I thought, well, gosh, if these words are just kind of two words put together, I can I could come up with whatever I want. So I needed gloves because I went ice skating with the kids, and I didn't know the word for gloves, but I did know the word for clothes, and I did know the word for hand. So I just said, well, yeah, I want show ifu, which was hand clothes. I wanted hand clothes. And they laughed, and they gave me gloves. So that's how I got around China, was from body language and making up my own words. From real words, I just put them together.
Right. That's amazing. And I guess there's nothing like necessity, like when
That's
you
right.
need, you needed gloves, and it's
That's
like,
right. What's that saying? Necessity is the father of invention, or something like that.
right? Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I could sit here and feel dumb.
Yeah.
And be cold, or
Yeah.
I could just be dumb for a second and
Right.
then get gloves.
Exactly.
That is amazing.
You have to be creative, And that's another thing,
Yeah.
too. I think when you do go out on your own, you really rely more on your instincts. And I'm a big believer in really honing in on those instincts, because that's your survival. And I think that when you do go to college, not everybody, but when you do go, you lend your, that away to somebody else. You don't tap into it because you're relying on this professor to give you his idea of what it means. Whereas your natural instincts actually are much stronger and much more correct than a professor that's really never maybe experienced anything. He's just telling you about what he studied in a book, So I really believe in, doing things and learning it that way.
Absolutely. And with I guess the statistics on professors, just not to poo-poo college on this show, but we kind of do it all the time. But most professors actually have never had a job outside of academia. Most professors go the route of, they get their first degree, then they get their master's,
Right.
and then they get their doctorate, and then their track is professorship, professorhood, however you want to say it.
Right.
And they've never held jobs outside of in the real world.
Right.
That's most of them. There are practical professors and everything like that, and there are some that have done what they teach in the real world, but that's
Which
far
I think
and few between.
those are the great ones, And like I said, and what you're saying too, not all university is bad. My kids are going. Our kids are going. So it's just a path that whatever makes you feel good, because it's all in your mind. If going to college and having that degree makes you feel better, then go, because see, that's what's going to make you do well. If you feel good about yourself, then that's what you need to do. What made me feel good about myself is being independent and actually going to these top stylists and working for them. Now, not everyone can do that. I was lucky. I mean, I think there's a big luck factor in it as well. But I really worked hard I wasn't going to give up. There's one place that I wanted to work at, and for a year I went there almost every week. I just didn't give up. So just don't give up. That's really important.
Let's dig a little deeper on that. There's a place that you wanted to work at, and then you would just go there once a week, asking for a job, or
Yep, and just talk to them and say, I really, right, and just visit with the owners and just talk to them, and and there was never an opening. But then one day there was an opening, and I got it.
That is amazing. That perseverance, that stick-to-itiveness, to personally,
Yep.
I mean, I might be able to do that now. No, you know what? I probably still couldn't do that now. I probably, I don't have that. And that's amazing, and that's what it takes to do that.
Yeah.
To just keep getting told no and then just keep going back.
Yep, and getting a goal, having a goal like that. If it's something that you really want to do, and I've never wanted to work in just just a normal salon. I've always really wanted to go work at the top salons because that is what made me feel good about me, you know? So, and my resume, that I like that. It made me feel good. And so if going to college, you know, makes you feel that way, then do it. Or, you know, go to college for a little while and see if it's good for you, but don't rely on it. You got to rely on yourself and see really, you got to really be in tune with yourself, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's hard as a child, you know, when you're young, like, what do you really want? Like, I've always loved doing hair and I've always been creative. So I knew that was something that I liked to do. So I'm glad I did that.
Yeah. With what you said about like relying on college, I think that's really important and I know I have a degree and I was in my generation, it was kind of not even a thought, especially for me. I'm come from a Japanese, Chinese background. So they're very much about school. It was never an option to not go to school. And so it was always expected of me. But along the way in this whole college thing, and it's definitely an error on my part, but part of the marketing as well is that if you get this degree, then you'll be qualified for a job. Then you will then get a job. But what I didn't realize at the time was that that's completely inaccurate. If you get the degree, that's supposed to maybe supplement your experience, right? Like they still want to see that you've done things that are relevant in that space. Like if you have a degree,
for sure.
If you have a degree in, you know, whatever it is, finance or something, they still want to see that you maybe got internships or that you got an apprenticeship, a finance or with an accounting firm or something like that. And
right.
I think that that's something that's missing in the marketing.
Oh, sure. I mean, and the same is even with the school. I knew in cosmetology school that that wasn't going to give me my job. What was going to give me my job were my internships that I had to do for another 2-3 years, you know, which was sort of like maybe graduate school for, you know, in the college world or something. Because I went to school for a long time. And I looked at my internships as school, kind of. I mean, I was paid for it, but it was very minimal. And I had to do all the yucky stuff. But that's where I really learned. You know, I just did the school just to get my license, and from there is where you have the key in this field is to work for the top and be, you know, an assistant for a while.
Right.
You have to pay your dues. But I think that's the same in everything. In college, you have no real world experience. So yeah, it is important to get internships and just, you know, even your first year out of school, you know, you may be working in a place you don't want to, but you want to get experience. You know, you may not be making a lot of money, but it's all about that. And kids, they really need to network in school. I think that's another important thing that maybe they're not doing as much, but I would totally be networking with my professors because they know a lot of people. I would be networking with other students, you know, in higher grades, or I don't know. It's all about who you know. It's all about not just who you know. You have to have something that follows that up. You know, you have to be diligent. You have to be tenacious. You have to be, you know, willing to do the crap work, you know, and work hard. And it'll pay off. And no matter what you do, if you go to college or you do something else.
With the networking, with college, what we find is that when you're networking amongst your peers, while that's good, definitely in the long term, like especially if you guys come up together, for the immediacy of it, I mean, everybody's, especially if you're in the same program, you guys are all vying for the same jobs instead of really becoming a network. You're kind of competition, and I mean that's okay, that's fine.
Sure.
But you know what we find is really good with networking is kind of starting or finding a niche, and then kind of, you know, something simple too. It could be starting a podcast just like this, and where we meet people.
Absolutely.
You know, I have a reason to,
Yeah.
under the guise of my podcast, I can like talk to, you know, you, for example. I never would have talked to you before.
It's a great idea, because then you have something, you have a platform that you can go to these people and say, hey, I'd like to, you know, everyone loves to talk about themselves. And so that's another thing I learned, you know, because you have these clients in front of you and you have to really know what to say, because it could be very uncomfortable to have silence. You want them to like you, and you want, you know, so it's like you have to have sort of a gift of gab, or learn. Everyone can do it, but you just have to learn to be a very social person. So having a platform like a podcast, or, you know, writing, or you want to interview people, going up to these people and saying, you know, I would like to write something about you. Do you have a moment at some point that I could do that? I mean, so that's a way to kind of break in. I mean, and I know kids are very insecure and they're scared, but you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to get rid of that fear and just go for it, and not worry about what they think. You know, that's part of the whole thing, is people are so afraid to do anything. And
so afraid. And it's to the point where it's debilitating, to the point where you won't even begin.
It is, yeah.
You were talking about instincts and following your instincts. This is something that I really never did before, ever. I didn't even know that I had instincts, maybe prior to like 5 years ago, or maybe even less than that, maybe a couple of years ago. And it was very much like, I have a plan. Don't listen to any of my instincts. I think, because I thought it was like emotions, like whatever gut feeling that I'm having, I feel like you're being emotional. Don't listen to that. You have a plan, stick to it. And maybe now that I'm kind of listening to my instincts more, I'm starting to see kind of outsized returns, more than I've ever seen in my life. And I guess, what were some of the keys? Like, how do you start listening to your instincts? Or what are instincts?
Well, I mean, I feel like they're triggered by need, number one. And the thing is it's survival. It's a survival mechanism. And when you're, you know, I put myself out there to not follow the traditional path. So I really had to use my instincts, you know. I mean, in the beginning, you don't know what they are, but I would start, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to do that. Oh, okay. You know, so it's little by little, you start to feel those feelings, and you know that works. So a lot of times, though, those instincts aren't triggered until later in life, because there's already been a plan for you, or you had a fixed mindset in your mind that this is the path that you want to do. So not necessarily people have given you that path, but us as individuals give us that path by having a fixed mindset, because this is the way we want to go. So I really didn't have any like path. I mean, I did. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that, oh, I'm going to work at the very best. I wanted to just work at the very best. So that's all I did. So it wasn't like I got to do this, I got to do this, and this. You know, it was just as I went, and I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. So I would do that for a while. And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should do this. You know, it's like I didn't have anyone else. You know, I didn't have professors telling me I should do this, or parents telling me I should do this. So I actually learned, and that's where you learn it. You know, you learn it out in the streets, and it's survival. And it's a shame that we don't allow our kids to get that, because we don't want them to go through what we went through. You know, because there was a lot of pain and disappointment. But it's those valleys that created, you know, those highs and the appreciation of it. So when we don't let our kids feel any of that, it's sort of boring. And it's like, no wonder these kids are numb, or they're they have no desire, or they're like, they don't know what to do. You know, it's like, let them fail. Let them feel it. You know, that's what triggers your instincts, you know, to survive. It's just natural. It will happen. And I'm part of the problem too. I did that with my kids, and I was a helicopter mom. And now I'm a drone mom, but I'm way up high. But and I still sort of, you know, if I see them going a direction, I do say, I don't know. What do you think about? I try not to be that way, because my kids are now, you know, they're doing fine, but they know what I expect, and I know that, you know, just little things, you know, I want them to respect me and be kind, and, you know, so all those things worked, you know, before puberty. You know, they gel after puberty. So that was the hard work, is the first 12 years is putting that. And then once that's done, you're good. They may kind of stray a little bit, but they come right back, you know. So I'm going off subject.
No, that's awesome. Actually, that's perfect, because I mean, as we said offline, I just had my first. Well, I didn't have it, but Hannah and I just have our first daughter, and
that's so wonderful.
Yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago. So this parenting stuff is completely new to me.
Sure.
But it's something that we do think about a lot.
Follow your instincts with that too, by the way. The less you read, honestly, the better off you are, because you're going to have people telling you, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. You should. But just do what you feel you should do. You know, you'll know.
You were kind of talking about there is like letting your kids fail and kind of like experiencing hardship. And, you know, that's difficult for a lot of people. I have a very good, very close friend of mine where her mother is she's an absolute star. She's an absolute, she's a amazing, beautiful, kind person, but she's also extremely driven, extremely accomplished. She's a first generation immigrant from the Philippines, and you know, she's very good at what she does. And, you know, there was no way that this lady was ever going to be a failure. Like, you know, she could sell ice to an Eskimo, right? And but then we've had conversations, the mom and I, about my friend, and talking about how she can instill some sense of like need or want, or, you know, some sort of hunger in her daughter. And I was like, I don't know. It seems like it's difficult, because I just told her straight, like, you've been so successful and you've basically given her everything, you know, like, because she didn't want her to, and that's not bad. It just,
I mean, it's out of a kind, you know, you love your kids so much and you don't want them, you know, but it doesn't help them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, giving them time, and your time, and you know, that's more important, giving them the emotional time. But when it comes to, you know, things, you know, or money or objects or something, you know, a lot of people just throw that at them because it makes the kids instantly happy and this and that. But, you know, having them work for it, and having them, you know, my kids started working when they were pretty young. And, you know, I think that's a big, important thing, is for them, and it makes them feel good about themselves too. But yeah, it's hard when you are that way. And I was that way. But then see, the thing with me is that I have 3 kids, and their father passed away, and in front of us. I mean, he died of cancer, and it was, you know, he was sick for 30 days, and then he died. And you know, my kids were front and center there, and they were quite young. I mean, they were like 16, 13, and 12, something like that. And these are bad ages as well. On top of it, but I couldn't protect them from that. I couldn't. That's like the worst thing that a child could go through ever, is to see a parent die in front of them, or just die. And I thought at that moment, I thought they've gone through the worst thing ever that they could experience. If they can survive this, even though this is the most tragic thing, it's gonna make them strong for life, because really there's nothing that comes close to that, So I kind of loosened the chain a bit with the kids, and they had all gone through puberty, so they all, were sort of gelled in their, moral compass and all their things that I taught them on up to this age. So I was more lenient. They were sort of surprised, but I figured, they've experienced it, so this is gonna make them strong, and I think that they're gonna be okay. So that's when I sort of backed off a bit, because I couldn't protect them anymore from pain. That was it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. With the kids, we have a lot of parents that listen to this show, and they're wondering about how to guide children, in life and making those decisions, but particularly in their career. How have you dealt with that? How have you done that with your own kids?
It's been, each stage of having children, I always say it's hard. It's okay. So this was harder than that one. This is, but I feel like this is really the hardest I think I've dealt with, because it's launching them that's pretty tough, and cutting them off. You know what I mean? It's like, you're used to having them around, and you're used to, doing things, and they're used to you paying for things. But it's like, okay, you want to keep doing it, but you don't, because it's something that it's taking away from them. So this has been pretty tough, So I'm going through it now. So we'll see. I keep them on a pretty small budget, because the ones that are in college right now, we have them on a very small budget, and they have to work. If they want extra stuff, they just have to work. And I get a lot of pushback, but I'm like, well, go, I don't know, get another job. Because I just can't do it. I just know that. So with my kids, a lot, they are very, what would you say? They are sort of like me in terms of street smart, because I've not spoiled them that much. I've made them do things, I'm really proud of the fact that they can, if there's a problem, if we have duct tape, we can fix it. It's those critical thinking skills that they have, and a lot of people don't have. So they won't be like the professors that have never lived life, because I make them learn all sorts of stuff, and I give them books about body language. I talk to them about body language. These are all the things that I think were important for me. Without a college degree, these were the things that I needed to know. And so I always tell them this is something very important that you need to learn. I like them to learn these different languages, which they have. Just things that are just, I want them to be good drivers. I want them to be able to protect themselves, so I've had them go through all sorts of, different, martial arts. I just want to prepare them for basic living. Like if we were stuck in the middle of nowhere, they know what plants they can eat, or they know, I would feel good about being in the middle of nowhere with them. We would figure out how to survive. A lot of people, I'm going to tell you this, a lot of people that are even from the Ivy League schools, I would never want to be stuck in the middle of nowhere with them, because I would die, or they would die. I wouldn't, but they would. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you want to have a really good balance of just practical knowledge with book smarts. But do you know what I mean? It's like I want my kids to be well-rounded in that respect, and be able to survive off the grid if they had to. I think it's important.
Yeah, definitely. What's interesting about like kind of the road that we walked down here is Hannah and I, we do a lot of thinking about this type of stuff, about what could we teach our children in order for them to like be well-rounded, I guess is the best way to kind of self-sufficient, or because as it's shaping up, you know, Hannah and I both, we didn't really come from money. We weren't, both of our families, we weren't poor. We were, both of them were pretty much squarely lower middle class, like just broke into middle class.
Right.
And so we didn't have everything we wanted, but we weren't always hungry. And
sure,
as it's shaping up, we were doing more thinking about it, because it looks like, you know, hopefully if, you know, everything stays the same or gets better, our kids are going to experience something that we never did, which is being, you know, more than. And
sure.
And so we were thinking, okay, well, if money is no object, let's use the thought experiment that money is no object. What are some skills that we could use that money for to put to good use? And so some of the things that we were thinking about, we didn't even think about what you were saying, which is good. I just took a bunch of notes here, like all those hard skills that are just life skills, like out in the wilderness and things like that. But we were thinking more about careers. And we were thinking, okay, well, exactly what you said, like paying for language lessons. You know, that's huge right there. Like that's something that my parents definitely couldn't do for me. And most people can't. But what if we could afford it?
Right.
You know, that is a hard skill that you would learn. Okay, you can speak Mandarin, you can speak Spanish. Boom.
Right.
You know, perfect.
Right.
And we were thinking maybe we could pay for them to become a pilot. That's something that money could buy. You know, that you know, it's just, we're just kind of do these thought experiments of like, how do we not necessarily spoil them, but kind of give them skills for their life going forward. At least they have something to fall back on. You know, they're multilingual,
for sure,
and they have these hard skills. You know, and so
I think that's a great idea, and that's going to be sort of in layers, right? Because when they're young, you've got to think about things. You know, the problem is here in the States, and the one thing I had going for us is that they were like, my son was 6, and my daughters were 3 and 2 when we moved overseas, and so I was able to protect them from, you know, commercials, TV. You know, these kids are inundated with, you know, stuff. You know, I want this, and we'd come back in the summertime, and they'd be, oh, I want to buy that. And then when they go to school, then the kids have the best phones, right, the top phones, and they didn't have a phone. And I'm like, so we experienced that overseas because, you know, these kids are wealthy that are going to their schools, but we just didn't do it. It's hard to say no, you know. We got them just the basic phone when it was time, when we thought it was time. And so you have to be strong, really, to set the boundaries, okay? And one thing I want to say is that it starts when they're babies. You can't not start when they're 3, 4 years old. It starts when they're babies because they train you if you don't train them. You know what I mean? So, and that doesn't mean being mean or like this terrible disciplinarian, but it does mean you're there emotionally for them. Like our kids slept with us in our bed. We had a family bed. There's, you know, they never had any pacifiers or blankets that they had to carry around, you know, for security. They always had us. So that's a good start with that. I always made them sit when we went out to eat, or even at home. I didn't let them throw food. I didn't, when I'm an older parent, so I always would go out to eat, and I'd see these kids before I had kids, and I'd like, I couldn't believe that these parents would let their kids just throw everything. It was a mess. And I thought to myself, if I ever have kids, I am never going to let them do that. And I didn't. But it takes a lot of just on top of them. It's hard. That's all I did. That was my job. I was on them, like bees on honey every second. Because if you don't, then it won't work. So I was really very there. And I made them sit properly. I made them use a fork. These are the things that they need to learn from parents, not from school. And unfortunately, a lot of parents think that the school is going to teach them these things, and it doesn't. And I understand people work. I worked, but you still have time to sit with your kids and explain when you're sitting down to eat. This is what you do. This is how you set the table, or this is, you're not throwing your food. This is what you're going to eat, and it's just very, you have to be very diligent.
Yeah, definitely.
I never spanked my kids. I never, had to do that, but they did have time out, and they didn't, they still try to manipulate me, but, I see right through what they're doing. So then they stop, because I look at them funny, and they know what I'm saying. So they know my body language.
Kind of switching gears here. I did want to go back to your business when you were first starting. What was the name of your salon?
Adonare.
Adonare?
And it means beautiful in Italian.
When you were starting Adonare, when were you, so you raised this money, you went out, you found a place. Did you immediately, you said you'd like to hire the best people, you immediately went out and hired 70 people, or did it grow?
It grew.
Slowly?
I had my base, people, and then we hired people that didn't have a clientele, that were new in the business, that took the overflow. So when we rented this space, we had to build it out. It was a brand new building, so we had to go through the construction work and everything. So it was some time that I had to find the people that I wanted. And
so when you said 70 people on staff, how many chairs did you guys have? Just kind of paint a picture of this place.
We had 17. I think we had 17 chairs, something like that. And we had a bunch of assistants, and because we offered the assistance to these people. And then we had massage therapists, we had estheticians, we had nail, people. So, and then front desk people. So we had a big, it was a big business.
When going from independent contractor, working for yourself, you're renting a chair in somebody else's salon, and then now you're the boss, and now you're 51% owner of this salon that is employing 70 people. I guess, what is the mindset shift there? I mean, is it, for me personally, I think about it, 70 people, we have one person that works full time with us. And I'm just thinking man, to have 70 of those people, that's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. I know. So what, again, with me, I always find a professional that does their job well. And we hired a manager, a good one. We paid her good money. And, of course, that's going to come out of our profit. But see, I rather have a successful business and have a smaller amount given to me, and have a good business that's running well. And I don't have to have the headache of dealing with those people, because that's a whole nother job. And this woman was specialized in that. So, and it wasn't, she was really, really good, because we paid her good money. We had a budget that we wanted to find a good person because we didn't want to deal with it. My partners didn't want to deal with it. They wanted somebody good. So I think it's important to, some people are like, well, I don't want to, I can't afford that, or I don't want to cut into my profits. But I'm telling you, it's not going to go well. If I'd rather have 10% of something than 100% of nothing, that's sort of my way of thinking. And always get the best. I really believe that. When you are doing something, what you're good at, stay in your lane, hire somebody else, but hire the best of that person. I mean, you just surround yourself with really intelligent people.
That is amazing advice. Where do you think, were you always like that? Did you always hold that advice? Because the way that the entrepreneurs that I meet, and I'm very much like this myself, I always want to do everything. I always want to we don't need to hire a web developer. I can learn that. We don't need to hire an accountant. I can learn how to do that. And I think a lot of it has to do with pride. I think that's the number one thing. It's kind of like, I'm doing this on my own. But then a second one is then exactly what you said, the money. Right? People get short-sighted with thinking, okay, I don't want to, pay this person when I can learn how to do it.
Right.
Was that something natural for you?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with me not having a degree. And I felt like maybe I had to surround myself with people that did have the big degrees or that were the best in their field. It made me look better. It made, I guess, me, I don't know, it just added something to my idea, because it's not like, oh, here's this hairstylist trying to, create this multi-million-dollar business. They had, oh, she's got Baker Botts. Oh, she's got, blah, blah, blah. She's serious. So, I think that it all stemmed from that because I felt like, well, I do what I do well, so I'm just going to find somebody that's going to make me look good. I borrowed their expertise to make myself look good, if that makes sense. They became partners with me. And, so that was my team. I mean, they were expensive, but, and I know when people start their businesses, you are on a shoestring. The way I did it is I was making money while I was doing my business. And when I even switched over to my salon, I was still working, doing hair. And that's how I was making my personal money. I was able to keep that. And then the profits of the salon I would share, and I would get a piece of that. But I'd much rather just do what I enjoy doing and what I'm good at, and then just hiring somebody, even if it comes out of my pocket. I think it's worth it because it's just more, I don't know, more enjoyable. It wasn't a bad experience.
Right. That is extremely, extremely wise, and I need to learn. I need to learn from that myself. And then with talking about your salon, how did it? You're not still running it? How did it end?
Oh no. Well, so I started having kids, children, and I was not there as much, and we had moved out of the city. And so with me owning, the 51% and my 3 partners owning the 49%, it really wasn't fair. I was the visionary, but I would come in like once a month and do some clients and then leave. So, my partners approached me and said that would I be interested in being bought out? And I talked to my husband about it, and I thought that's probably the fairest thing to do, is to do that. Because now I'm really a full-time mom, and, I had 3 kids in 4 years, so I was pretty busy. And then we did that. So they bought me out.
How was the transition hood into? How was the transition? Hello, transition hood. How was the transition into full-time parenthood? into like becoming a full-time? Was it easy? Was it, did you feel like you were missing something?
I did miss the business part of it because I do love business. I mean, I love hair, but I love the business part of it too. So I did a little bit of hair, you know, when they're, like I said, I would go back and forth. But then when we moved overseas, you know, that was, you know, my son, he's the oldest, so he was just turned 6. And after that, I couldn't work because I didn't have a work permit. So I had to, you know, just be the mom. But that was a big job, being a mom over like in Ghana, where we had no running water or electricity. I mean, it kept me busy chasing water trucks and stuff like that. So I had other stimulation, just survival when living over in these places, along with being a parent. So it did keep me occupied. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. So, yeah. But now that the kids are older and, you know, I am doing a little bit of stuff. I mean, I'm working with James with some things, and I'm considering, you know, doing a podcast, a small one, you know, starting out just talking about just things, you know, experiences that we had, stories overseas that are kind of funny. And with my friends, my friends are all over the world, you know, so it's fun to reminisce and talk about some of these things that you can't really make up, you know. So, and then maybe about parenting. I don't know. I'm just sort of in that time of my life where my kids are sort of flying away, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do. That's my big thing right now.
Right. You're kind of you're in another transition right now.
Yeah.
It seems like
I am.
Yeah, that's amazing. One of the things that we see with career transitions in general, like whether it's, you know, selling your business or even, you know, moving from, we see a lot of like teachers or nurses transition into like, you know, tech or even becoming full-time parents. And we see that that's one of the biggest things is kind of missing something like to, you know, kind of, I guess to add a little bit of spice in the day. But I guess what you said about, you know, just worrying about surviving is pretty, that'll keep you busy.
Oh, wow. It kept me busy for sure. So yeah, that was very stimulating. And being, you know, if anyone ever has an opportunity to live abroad, it's very different than travel, you know. And it was great. It was great for the kids. It was great for me. Talk about, you know, skills that you need, you know, just problem-solving skills, you know, critical thinking skills you definitely need in places like that. Like I learned how to be a plumber. I learned how to be everything because, you know, things break there and you need to figure out how to fix it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
in Ghana you said you didn't have any running water and you had to chase water trucks.
Water
like how
trucks.
does that work?
Yeah,
So they come with big like tankers?
Yeah, a big water tanker, and you know they just go around. Well, they pick up this water from these water holes that are just so disgusting. I mean, and Ghana has all sorts of water bacterias and stuff like that, and so I'd have to grab one, and then you have to pay them cash, and then they'll come and then they'll pour it into your big tank that you have. We had 2 large tanks, and I mean very big, and then. You know, my late husband worked for an oil company, so you know they took pretty good care of us. And they put in these huge, I mean, I'm talking huge filters, and there were like 3 or 4 of them. They looked like rockets. Okay, they were so big, and the water would have to filter through all of those 3 or 4 of them until they came out into the house out of the pipe, and we still couldn't drink it. We could bathe in it, but we could not drink it. So it was crazy. And I had to do that every other day, go find water. And then there's no electricity because they would, in the middle of the night, they would steal all the copper wiring from from everything. So we had a generator that we had to work on all the time that didn't work half the time. So
wow. Well, so what did you guys do for drinking water?
We had to get special water, brought in, or we would have to, when we cooked, we would boil the water really well. But we couldn't even hang clothes outside to dry because of those tsetse flies that would lay eggs on the wet fabric, and then when you wear it, you put it on, those little worms burrow into your skin, and they grow, and until it matures, and then it pops out of your skin. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they had, and we didn't have a dryer, so I'm thinking to myself, so we had to iron everything, because the iron would kill those worms or the eggs, and even your underwear you had to iron, and you had to iron it super well because you didn't want to have any of those in you. Well, I had an idea. So see, these are the kind of things that really stimulated me. I was thinking, let's just put, those bed nets, which are impregnated with pyrethrins, that would not allow bugs or insects to come near it. I said, let's just get those, and we put them over the clothes, and then we didn't have to iron them because none of those bugs went over there anymore. And then we didn't have to spend time ironing. We could wear our wrinkled clothes like we liked, because I didn't. We were used to having everything so ironed, and our underwear and everything. So it worked, and I'm like, wow, this is a great thing. Why doesn't everyone do this? I don't know, but it was fun living in places like that because, you can invent stuff that these people haven't really thought of really yet, But I like that. Every day's a different day.
Stimulating. That's awesome.
It's stimulating. No, there's no one day that was the same.
Robyn, I want to be respectful of your time. I have a couple of last questions. Yeah, thank you for coming on. One of the things that I ask every guest is for people that are looking to do, what you did, be a successful entrepreneur without a degree, kind of learn all of these soft skills. It seems like you are an expert at soft skills, right? From the body language to getting people to buy into your vision. Right. You're a hairstylist with a chair, and then you have a vision. You're selling 49% of a dream. You have all these soft skills. Are there any books or resources that I could point them to that you suggest a lot of?
Yeah, it is true. That I think is probably the most important thing to have is that a skill, because the thing is, if you think about it, people just want to be around somebody that's positive and happy, that makes them feel happy, and it's super important just to be a positive person, number one. Okay, if you're a negative person, I don't really think you need a book for this, to be honest. I mean, these are just simple things that if you really think about it, it's just common sense. And what do they say about common sense? It's not very common. But if you just really go, it's just very simple. You be a good person. You become, you find out what you really want to do, and you don't give up. And it's, people talk about grit. There's all these self-help books, and it's great. But, I mean, you really have to find your own gate, okay? But I do know there are certain things that are important. One is you really want to be a people person. You really, but sincere. You don't want to, I can see through somebody right away that's not. If it's all this fake. You don't want to be fake. You want to be down to earth, and you want to be real. And there's nothing worse than someone that's, like that. I don't want to be around someone like that. So you just want to be honest, an honest, sincere person, and just talk to people about them. Ask them questions. It's this world right now. Everyone is so into themselves. They're taking pictures of themselves. It's a very narcissistic kind of. I'd be embarrassed if I had some of these Instagrams. that are all me. I mean, it's like, ugh. And I tell my kids this, I don't want that either for them because it doesn't look good. I mean, I know everyone is doing it, but I don't know. It still seems a bit weird. So if you just follow just your natural, just think about, why are we here? What is our natural environment? You know, is our natural environment being in a huge city where you can't see any trees? I mean, start thinking about what, as a human, what is our habitat? Well, our habitat is really being outside in the green, being with the animals. I feel that's a really important thing to do, is being in contact with just nature. Okay, then just talking to people, finding asking questions about them. Take it off of you and put it on other people. People want to talk about themselves, So these are very simple things that you can do, and you can practice anywhere. Just you want to be, you want to have the questions. Good questions are the best thing. It's better than the answers, And don't always think that you have all the answers. No one wants to be around a know-it-all either. So I'm a different generation than you. I'm a different, I'm probably the generation of your parents. But, that's another thing. And when you're older, don't stay the same way you are. Learn from the younger people, Don't have a closed mindset. I think that's a really important thing, is have an open mindset. Experiment. Try new things. Don't be afraid. Just put yourself out there. Sometimes it's hard for people. They're not extroverts. I'm an extrovert. I like people. But maybe it was a skill that I had to learn. Maybe I wasn't like that in the beginning. But being behind a chair for 25 years and dealing with clients, I had to be that way. So I don't know if there's one book. Of course, my husband's books are great, and that's how I met him. The Choose Yourself was the one that I read that I thought was amazing, and that's how I met him. I read his book, and then he was at a meetup for investing, and I was like, oh my God, I want to meet him because I read this book, and that was a great book for me, one of my favorite books, and so. I think it's pretty basic, and it's just sort of taking a step back and maybe getting off the grid for a little while, because I'm telling you, social media just really messes with you so much. And I think it takes away from really learning your own, knowing what your own gait is, what your own pace and what your own instincts are, because you want to be like everyone else. And you shouldn't. You should really be yourself. So I don't know if that answers anything.
No, that was perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you. And as you said, your your husband's books, Choose Yourself, Skip the Line. I've read both of them.
Yeah.
I've read more than that of his books multiple times, and
Yeah.
they're awesome. They're great, and it's a lot of the reason why Hannah and I do what we do is following the advice in those books. So yeah, we definitely can't recommend those enough. And the last, Robyn, where do I send people to learn more about you, about what it is that you're doing, some different projects that you're working on?
I haven't figured that out yet. I mean,
sure, no worries.
I'm we have Notepad, which I do have a presence on that. It's that notepd.com. And I do share some of my ideas on that. That's something that we're doing, which I like. So, once I do something, I'll probably put it on Notepad. If I do a podcast, or if I do something like that, it'll probably go on there. I'll announce it on there.
Yeah, definitely. And if and when you do start your podcast, when you want to promote it, please come back on and let's talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And one other thing, when you were asking me about what a good thing to have when you start out. One thing that I think is super important, and something also to teach your kids, is having a good moral compass. I think that is super important because, that follows you through your whole life. And if you don't, it will definitely come back and bite you. So if you continue, that's the one thing you want to be consistent of. And that goes through everything in your life. Like, if you are, for instance, like at the oil company that my late husband worked for, if there was anything, like when we were in China, there were some families that were broken up because, one of the husbands cheated on his wife, okay? And it's a close-knit group. When you go from one country to the next, you kind of stay within your group. And it really created a lot of fear and problems for families. And so they have a policy that's unacceptable, and they send the family back to the States. They can't fire them, but they put them in a different area. But they figure, look, if you have a character flaw there with cheating on your wife or your husband, then you will cheat possibly with us. So it's like a bad fault, like sometimes that fault goes through a whole person's life in every aspect of their life. Okay? So I also use that as if I see somebody that's doing something, it may be, it's just this. No, I see, okay, if they're doing it there, I wonder where else are they doing it, right? So I don't trust that person. So that's a very important thing to have. And that's also something that is in my arsenal in terms of my instincts, is when somebody does something like that, I think, okay, there's a red flag there, but that protects me.
It's funny. I think you saved the best for last there with the moral compass, because kind of for myself, like we kind of talked about in my 20s, early 20s, mm-hmm. especially, I was very, like, talking about morality, I was very envious. I was very selfish, mm-hmm. and the way that always came through was I would look at other people, and like one of my buddies would get a good job, like a great job, and I'd be like, man, I'm smarter than that guy. I've done harder work than, like, mm-hmm. I've worked harder than that guy. Like, that guy is an idiot. Mm-hmm. How did that guy get that job? Mm-hmm. Right? And I would always tell myself these stories, and I would always say it, not only tell myself, but I would tell other people these things.
Yeah.
And later, it wasn't until later that I completely shifted my mindset or my moral compass to not be envious of people and mm-hmm. to instead be happy for people. Mm-hmm. And so now when my buddy gets a good job, or, somebody succeeds in life, even if they are direct competition to what I do, even if we were going for the same job, I just look at them and I say, and I genuinely feel it inside, and I say, awesome, good for you. Yeah. Like, I am so happy for you.
And learn what they've done. What was it?
Yeah.
What character did they have? I mean, you could always learn from these people too. Maybe he was, a little more gregarious or, likable. I mean, it's weird. People like you we're all mammals, right? So sometime even, I know this is going to sound weird, but even maybe somebody's, and you don't know their smell. Everyone has their own smell, but sometimes you don't smell it, but your mind, you do. Your body knows. And sometimes you wonder why. I wonder why I don't like that person. But there's a reason, and you've got to follow that feeling. Do you know what I mean? Like when you meet somebody and you're like, I don't know. You just can't put your finger on it, but you've got to trust your gut. There's a reason why, So I don't know. It's very interesting, and I think studying, the way humans interact I think that's very interesting, in psychology and all of that. I never studied it. I mean, I guess bits and pieces of it, but it's very interesting. But it's really being in tune with yourself and what you're experiencing. And you really had to sometimes be very still and very quiet. And I guess maybe meditation can help you that. But it's like when there's something that doesn't feel good, and I got to really sit down and think, why do I feel this way? And I have to really go inside and think, why am I feeling like this? So it's really important to listen to these little things because it will really protect you very much. Safety and professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, Robyn Altucher, thank you so much for coming on the Degree Free podcast.
Yeah, this was
awesome. I had a great time. I hope you had a good time too.
I did. Yeah, anytime. I'm available. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, whenever it is that you want to come on, whenever you start the Robyn Altucher show, just
I will let you know for sure. But this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Once again, thank you so much, Robyn.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
I hope you guys got as much value out of that episode as I did. I really love at the end how we started talking about moral compasses, and we saved the best for last there. A few things before you head out. If you guys haven't already, please consider leaving a review or sharing this podcast with somebody. That would be extremely helpful. It helps to get our message out there and help more people. Also, if you guys haven't already, please sign up for our newsletter, degreefree.co/newsletter. You'll get a weekly email with degree-free tips, tricks to get you hired and get you the work that you want. And then also degree-free news, everything degree-free. All right, until next time, guys. Aloha.